Through the week, although I say by the end of this program, we're at the end of the halfway through the week because we have, we didn't do a program on Monday. We did it on Tuesday, Wednesday, then we have Thursday and Friday to look forward to. Welcome to the throw in here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. I think we got a pretty busy show. As soon as I got off the air, yesterday morning, kind of rambled up through some things, took a lot of notes, kind of just dived into the world of football, baseball, wrestlings, and I'm excited. Right? Wednesday, February 15th. Hopefully, everyone had themselves a good Valentine's Day. I know I did. I was skeptical about what I was planning on doing on Valentine's Day itself, and then I think it all turned out right and fairly to say. So I got a chance to take the fiance out to Texas Roadhouse, which is, she was really craving those rolls with the butter, and then she ordered cheese, bacon cheese fries, which were amazing, and then I ended up getting one of those smothering chicken platters with the baked potatoes. So overall, the night was fine. Headed on over to a couple of stores afterwards and just kind of took it easy the way that it should be going. So, yeah, other than that, we had a great time. Hopefully everyone had a great time. There was coming home last night. We noticed it was around like 7:30 ish. It was a coming home on the opposite side of the freeway on the 75. There was a couple of accidents, one on the exit on the opposite side from where we got off at, and then there was also a semi truck that was that was kind of flipped on its side that kind of almost blocked the entire interstate going southbound on the 75. So I kind of hope that that everyone was safe, no one got hurt moving forward. All right, but you know what? Listen, we got a busy day today. We got a busy day, busy week. We got a lot of things that we have to start diving into and starting to talk about. Pitchers or catchers reported yesterday. We'll get there. We will actually be able to see them start, working out today with everyone. And you got to have, I think this is kind of the time where you kind of have to click and turn your brain off and kind of really just get in there and say, all right, listen, it's not the team that we want. There's a lot of young, good guys and prospects down that are going to work their way up. We don't have the rookie rotation anymore, which is a positive thing. So with their experience last year, knowing that, hey, they had the full control, that they're going to have to take the responsibility this year, I think it should be a positive note, because now you have guys like Hunter Green, Nick Lodolu, Graham Ashcraft that knows their role. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in our program. Off season's here. Excuse me. Still getting over that little cough early on, but off season is among us. All right. And you're already seeing teams and trades and things, wheeling and dealing and happening through and through and through. And one of the things, and so what I want to start doing is taking a dive into right now. To this morning, we'll take a dive into the AFC North. Kind of where each team stands right now before, as they headed deep into the off season. What do they maybe need? What's kind of the big problems or questions that you can kind of think at the top of your head? And I was just thinking about that yesterday. I was like, all right, this is what, maybe I'll do this to every single team eventually. kind of give you my quarterback rankings. I know that may be coming out a little too early, but it will be a little surprise. So if I can, we'll talk about that. But I want to dive into and get you down to some big conversations. And my first conversation here has to be Cody Rhodes. And, there's the big conversation that I am running back in my head is the statements that Cody Rhodes have said over the past few weeks since winning the Royal Rumble. Right now, he has punched his ticket, right? Sealed his faith. He wants to finish writing what he started by winning at WrestleMania and becoming the WWE Undisputed Championship. And I have no doubt that Cody Rhodes has what it takes to be an unbelievably great champion. I think this is also a new, fresh look that the WWE at this moment requires. But he has also mentioned in his segments and his promos that he's also okay with facing Sami Zayn. And I was listening to this yesterday. It was actually on a For You page that a guy was giving his statement over Sami Zayn. I think this really makes sense. And after looking at this kind of confuses everyone's story, because right now what we see is potentially Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn at WrestleMania for that WWE Undisputed Championship. But the bigger problem that we have is Sami Zayn itself. See, the WWE has built Sami Zayn so high that he is the fan favorite, number one, sitting at the top above Roman Reigns, above Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins. The fans are so far behind him that it's almost as if he has must win. And the way that the guy was explaining it in the video, and I sent it to myself, I believe, because I had to watch it and watch it and watch it again and again. It reminds you that Sami Zayn is at that next level. He is that Bryan Danielson level before, when Bryan Danielson went on to main event WrestleMania. And I think it's injustice to have Sami Zayn coming up this Saturday at Elimination Chamber, if he loses, in Canada, which is his home country, then I think there's going to be a big plot turn against Cody Rhodes in the main event match. We saw something very similar to this a couple years ago when Bryan Danielson was pushing for a championship run and he was getting held back. Batista came back, won the Royal Rumble, went on to face Randy Orton, but Bryan Danielson had to win his WrestleMania match against Triple H, and then later that night go on and face Randy Orton and Batista, ultimately captivating that WWE Championship. Sami Zayn has built this 8 month story, with Roman Reigns and the bloodline. He has gotten the support, the love from the fan base himself, which I think is incredible. All right. I don't know where Sami Zayn would be today if he did not decide that he was going to hop on the bloodline's family and try to ride that out as far as he can. But I think for his career's sake, he has done something that I don't think many people have been able to do. And that is make it to the top of the fan base where the fans want you to win. The fans are behind Sami Zayn this coming up Saturday at Elimination Chamber when he goes one-on-one with Roman Reigns for that Undisputed Championship. The thing is that if he does not win that match on Saturday, which right now my favorite is Roman Reigns. Why go against him? He's been dominant that long. But if Sami Zayn doesn't win, we may very well see, a complete, utterly, unrealistic reaction coming out of Toronto. And I think that's going to be a problem leading into WrestleMania, because then you get Roman Reigns, and then you'll get Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, when ultimately the main event closing out the show should be Sami Zayn. And, we talked about the story of, the possibility of Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn teaming up to face the Usos and win maybe the Raw or SmackDown Tag Team Championships. I don't know. But I will tell you this. I don't even know if that level is going to do justice for what Sami Zayn deserves. So I'm telling you this. I kind of expect, if Sami Zayn loses, and I think the way that it has to go down, and I think the best way to give the fans and to give the audience what they want and to keep Sami Zayn up there, but not in the main event, is that the Usos dramatically, especially Jimmy Uso, has to get involved into Saturday's match. Now, there was also stories lurking last week about how this was going to go down, because all the DUIs and stuff, were the Usos going to get granted to be at Elimination Chamber? We would have to wait to see, and I'm pretty sure that they were able to figure things out. But I don't even think setting up this tag team match that I think we're speculating between the Usos and Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens will do justice for how big the fan base has grown for Sami Zayn. And let me tell you this, because let me ask you this. If Sami Zayn, will you be satisfied when it's all said and done? Sami Zayn goes into Saturday, Elimination Chamber. He loses to Roman Reigns. Then he looks his eyes teaming up with Kevin Owens to capture the tag team titles. Will that be enough to finish writing Sami Zayn's story? But then, or are we unfavored for Sami Zayn to somehow miraculously pull off the victory against Roman Reigns this Saturday? I think that's the big question coming out of it all. All right. Roman Reigns or Sami Zayn this Saturday that takes you to WrestleMania. My thing is if Roman Reigns wins, because if you look at Sami Zayn, you look at Roman Reigns in the big picture, one-on-one. I mean, I'd go Roman Reigns night and day. He is that element of game that really focuses on the direction that the WWE is going in. You just don't see Sami Zayn as that champion. But then you also look at, if Sami Zayn don't win, could this really affect Cody Rhodes and his fan base reaction? Not saying that he won't be a fan favorite, but he may not get that main event reaction that he is probably destined for. So I really feel that if Sami Zayn doesn't win, you see Roman and Cody at WrestleMania, then we're going to see something along the line of not probably the greatest moment that Cody Rhodes had dreamed. Now, I'm not going to put any faith in. Listen, I trust Triple H. He hasn't proved me wrong yet. And I will go ahead and stand by the creative standpoint and we'll see this thing out. But the fans, and you've seen it since the Royal Rumble, you've seen it since the beginning of the year, you have seen it since the War Games last year, that the fan base for Sami Zayn is growing deeper and deeper and deeper. And with everything going on, Sami Zayn right now is at the top level. He is, you could sell all the shirts, you could have everything, out for these other athletes, but Sami Zayn is that number one conversation. And right now he's the main focus point. in the WWE. It would be injustice to let it end on Saturday. It would be injustice to only have them settle for tag team titles. But yet again, Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, I think, is more of a main event seller, realistically, in my head. What does this do? Because Cody Rhodes, and I really want to get to this point, is that Cody Rhodes has mentioned that he doesn't mind. He prefers facing Sami Zayn, which is great. They had a heartfelt moment, another week of great promo cutting from Cody Rhodes, and elevating his emotional state of his journey, making it to the Royal Rumble. But here's the thing: is what does it do for a guy like Cody Rhodes to go in there and face Sami Zayn, comparing to facing Roman Reigns? What does that do to the storyline? I mean, for me, if you Cody Rhodes makes this long journey back. All right, he comes back at WrestleMania to face Seth Rollins last year. He goes on and had this feud up until he tore his pectoral tendon, which required surgery from him, which took him out the remainder of the year. So we really didn't see Cody Rhodes up until he returned and won the Royal Rumble. And now, there's another obstacle. Now you have a fork in the road. Do you go down and take, and I no disrespect to Sami Zayn, but do you go down and you take the cheap way out? Right. Because if you put up Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes, I'm taking Cody Rhodes. You put up Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, I'm taking Roman Reigns. You put up Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, that's more of a obstacle that you have to, get over. Cody Rhodes has to get over that final obstacle. And I think that's why this Saturday you will see Roman Reigns win that title and become the one that Cody Rhodes has to face and has to overcome. I think this is a big three-way mess. And I would honestly hate to see if Sami Zayn, because here's the thing. Could we see, and I'm just spitballing this, could we see a triple threat match that somehow includes Sami Zayn in the conversation of the Undisputed Championship at a match at WrestleMania? Bryan Danielson was somehow capable of rising to that level. But could Sami Zayn be that next person to do so? And I go back. I'm going to answer, Michael. I'm going to take a break, but I do want to answer the question here. Who does Cody Rhodes want to face at WrestleMania? Is choosing Sami Zayn is the easy way out at WrestleMania? I think it is. I think more of the challenge is Roman Reigns here. All right, we're just getting underway on a Wednesday morning. Good morning, you guys. It's Wednesday, February 15th. You guys are listening to The Throw-In with me, Justin, right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Press on those notifications. Don't miss a single episode that we give you guys each and every morning. All right, if you guys are over on Twitter and Facebook, we want to thank you. Invite you over to YouTube so you guys can share your comments. All right, if you guys are listening to us on the road and taking us on audio platforms, we thank you and we welcome you in. All right, we're going to take a first time out of the morning. We'll come back and talk more stories I have lingering over the WWE. Thank you guys for listening to The Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Ten toes down, I'm a ride with the gang. My whole life I've been doing my thing. Get that money, ain't no thing. Everything I do for the gang.
6:25 here on The Throw-In. We want to give a shout out to StreamYard, the proud home of the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. None of this wouldn't be possible without StreamYard.com. And StreamYard Studios, where you could create your podcast videos, host virtual business meetings, and even conduct interviews. Check out the free version today at StreamYard.com.
When I get to that cake, heads up, I'm coming. This is all we
Alrighty,
ever
Wednesday morning.
wanted.
Hopefully everyone's doing fine and dandy. And we got a lot of stuff that we talked about. Just had I think, incredible opening segment. I think that's something that is worth the conversation any time of day, especially as we lead up to WrestleMania. And I think what's so interesting about the controversy and the situation that I just got done explaining last previous segment between Sami Zayn and how big he is and how unjustified it would do if he would lose in Canada this Saturday against Roman Reigns, and then Roman Reigns goes on to face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania, and then kind of, even if Sami Zayn teams up with Kevin Owens to face the Usos, it's kind of still an injustice service. So, this is that time of year where a lot of crazy things sparkles and unleashes. And like I mentioned to you guys earlier, you guys, come on. Cody Rhodes, I think, has kind of setting himself up the last few weeks when he's brought up that, hey, I want to go ahead and face, I want to see, especially last Monday when he said I wanted to see Sami Zayn at WrestleMania. I think Sami Zayn and Cody Rhodes will make an incredible match at WrestleMania. I just don't know if it's at the level of a main event. And when you see these two guys on paper, it's not main event quality, in my opinion. Sami Zayn's going to get that moment of the spotlight this Saturday, but realistically, does Roman Reigns really come to that end, and that's it for on Saturday when you don't see anything else for him other than defending that title at WrestleMania? I mean, we yet to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson come. I mean, maybe we could still see The Rock somehow make an appearance, and we could still see The Rock and I'm saying we could still somehow see The Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. See, those are conversations to have. Another conversation I think in the WWE that we should really be talking about here, and kind of one thing that I get brought to my attention, is the Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley booked match for Elimination Chamber. Now, we've seen these guys in the past. We've seen Brock, I believe, beat Bobby at Crown Jewel. I believe it was Crown Jewel. But we've seen them face a few times before. Now, listen, I think these are two identical men, similar age, similar height, similar weight, similar career experiences. I mean, they've been in the wrestling industry for a long time, and we've waited a long time to see this chapter with Brock Lesnar and Bobby unfold. We're going to see it again at Elimination Chamber. Now, I'm not going to get old. Just like it doesn't get old to see Roman and Brock Lesnar, because let's be honest with each other, that match sells, just like Bobby and Brock. The first few times it sold, it's going to sell again because they're elevating it. But I think my problem is that when you see these two men and you think of them competing with each other inside a match, the first thing that comes to my mind is like a big moment like WrestleMania. Why isn't these guys competing at WrestleMania? And I was talking to some people about this yesterday, and I was like, man, why are these two men facing this Saturday and not at WrestleMania? Well, the first thing that comes to my mind is you got to give Toronto something to kind of talk about, and this is that thing to talk about. The second is that, some feedback comes in, and I'm like, kind of throwing out ideas. Well, since Bobby Lashley's return to the WWE, we've been trying to, I guess, not understand, but put together MVP wanting Bobby Lashley to rejoin the quote unquote Hurt Business. You got Cedric Alexander, you got Shelton Benjamin. Now you even got Omos, which I think is a dangerous factor, especially how you have to give credit of how Omos has, I guess, learned and how much more experience he is inside that ring compared to last year. So, you're not. Last year we saw Bobby and Omos go one-on-one. And I guess this kind of then urges the question of, could we see an outside interference? Because the last few weeks it was Omos and MVP who got Bobby Lashley that number one contender match with Austin Theory a few weeks ago. But then that's when Brock Lesnar showed up, and MVP has kind of been quiet since then. Omos has been quiet since then. But could we see something for Elimination Chamber? And could this match be, I would like to see this match be carried over to WrestleMania. But then I guess another thing lurking in my understanding is that, listen, the last few times these men have met, there have been injuries and injury levels. And so one of my concerning factors is that both men end up sustaining some sort of injury this Saturday that prevents them to have their WrestleMania moment, especially Bobby Lashley. He's been in and out of injuries all last year. It's a great match. I love the idea. I love the concept. I just don't quite understand the booking. But at the same time, we have yet to be failed of what we're going to see come WrestleMania yet. All right. I also want to keep the conversation rolling here. Something that kind of kept on playing back and forth in the mind, in the head, over and over again, which just kind of upsets me, is about Baron Corbin. All right. The question is asked. The WWE has made, it's been out there that the WWE has been giving up on Baron Corbin. And my question is that, is it too late? Is it too late to revive his career? Listen, his career kind of slipped under wayside since the failure to cash in that Money in the Bank briefcase a few years back, and it hasn't been the same since. And I wonder, if he's capable of reviving his career, what he would have to do. I personally am a fan favorite of seeing the Lone Wolf. Now, whether he has hair with it, whether he doesn't, listen, he is one that is capable of, if you bring back that Lone Wolf, he was a fan favorite. Now, I think whatever held his grudge years ago, okay, whatever prevented him from becoming champion years ago, I think that needs to be behind us. We moved on. We all did not like the quote unquote happy Corbin gimmick or the broke Corbin for the longest time. I really kind of felt his way when when JBL stepped into the picture. I think Corbin, I've heard a lot of safe stories where he really takes the extra precautionary measures against his opponents, and I really think that Baron Corbin is one who would fit at the top of the level, taking care of whether he's a heel or a face, but taking care of his opponents. The next thing is that, listen, I believe, we don't have a lot of top of the line guys right now in the WWE. You got Roman Reigns, you got Seth Rollins, you got Cody Rhodes. That's pretty much it. Baron Corbin, if he gets put back in that top level, decision overall for the WWE, then he's a dangerous person. He's an X factor that really turns head and will put people in seats. What I would like to see from Baron Corbin, between now and maybe WrestleMania, because the last segment that we saw of Baron Corbin was on Monday night. Okay, JBL's already given up on him, and now we're seeing, Cody Rhodes, because Baron Corbin talked crap about Cody Rhodes' family. Cody Rhodes took it into a match, and that was it. I really hope that the WWE does not write off Baron Corbin quite yet. I would like to see a little bit more out of Baron Corbin. I would like to see him go back to the lone wolf and give him that extra push. But in order for that to happen, I think, in my opinion, which I think it's set up to be, just a couple weeks ago with how JBL, reacted to Baron Corbin losing and being a failure, I think you should see JBL take on Baron Corbin at WrestleMania. And I think this match right here, if that match could happen, if we could see it, this type of match is could help revive Baron Corbin's level. Listen, I'm a Baron Corbin fan. I like him, although I don't like the gimmicks that he's been given to execute out there. I still like what he's capable of doing in the ring. I think he's a dangerous person. I think he is a championship worthy down the road. I think this would be a great feud for him and Cody Rhodes down the road. And who knows? I would like to see his kind of this isn't it moment here in the WWE. Those are a couple big stories that I've had. Man, it's WrestleMania season, so we see a lot of this kind of going ahead and just unraveling and unfolding. And I think right now, which is great, is that we have more questions than answers, you guys. We have more questions than answers, which is a really good thing, because that's what keeps you tuning in each and every week to see what happens. There's a reason why we're tuning into Elimination Chamber this Saturday, because of Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns. And it's gonna be exciting to talk about coming up Monday, the results and what does this mean moving forward. NXT was last night. Braun Breaker will be defending his NXT championship next Tuesday against Jinder Mahal. I think that's another, forgotten athlete that I don't, maybe injuries has caught up to him. I don't quite know. Kind of wish to see more out of Jinder Mahal. I really enjoyed Jinder Mahal's SmackDown championship run. I think that was probably the best part of his career. And I would like to see that, he has a lot to offer and he has a lot to give. And, I feel like, honestly, that Jinder Mahal is kind of the specimen that kind of can level eye to eye with Braun Breaker. Now, we've seen Grayson Waller, have his match and have his time, but there's no one fatigue, maybe Apollo Crews. There's really no one built to, stand toe to toe right now with Braun Breaker. And, I don't think Braun Breaker is going to lose that title anytime soon, but Jinder Mahal is a good opponent that can really test his Braun's size, power, his strength, and all of the above. So we'll look into that NXT next week as the title is ready to be defended. All right, let's cut to a break here. Come on back. We'll kind of change a little bit of the subject, talking a little bit about other sports going on as well around the world here. Throwing continues here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Trying to make up your mind like you need more time. You've already spent most of mine. Even when your words fail, you try to keep it light. You realize I'm done right. You can be honest. I don't appreciate your lies. It's about damn time you get it right. I'm up all night. You keep pretending that you'll keep fighting. Say the word when it falls. I'm up all night.
Alrighty, 6:42 here on the throw and take you guys up until 8 o'clock. Alrighty. I want to remind people here, okay, is that WrestleMania is just a few weeks away, right? Right now we have 3 matches that has been confirmed. Excuse me. We have 3 matches that has been confirmed so far. That is the WWE Undisputed Championship. Cody Rhodes will be either facing Roman Reigns or Sami Zayn for one. That is, then we also have the SmackDown Women's Championship with Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. And then we have the winner of the Women's Elimination Chamber taking on um, Bianca Belair. And I think that this is, there's 3 matches. You have about another 5, 6 titles that have to be announced, and then you got some personal matches. Great. Love it. But, this is time is starting to, slip by. And one thing that I will say is that there's always a conversation right now that you can have, that anyone could have about any particular superstar and the speculation of matches that could happen. So, as we kind of unfold, as we kind of unravel and, see more storylines, the big questions right now, I think, are, at least 2 of the 3 I've talked heavily this morning of. I want to continue the conversation, kind of moving on with some other stuff in the world of sports. We don't talk a whole lot about basketball, but some things that came unfolded yesterday. New Mexico State halts men's basketball program for the remainder of the season after hazing allegations. The Aggies coaching staff has been placed on a paid administration leave. The university has announced back on February 12th, which was actually a couple of days ago, more alert on this story. I'm trying to pull up more for you guys here, so I apologize. The story here, we'll go for the newest. Let's go for the newest story that we have here. Coach Greg Hearer fired amid hazing allegations. This was updated yesterday, AB7, from AB7KVIA.com. Just learned that New Mexico State University men's basketball coach Greg Hearer has been fired, according to New Mexico State University spokesperson. A new conference with New Mexico State University officials will be held Wednesday morning around 10 a.m. Chancellor Dan Arvizu issued a statement to New Mexico State University committee saying that, and I quote, "Earlier today, I made the decision to terminate men's basketball coach Greg Hearer, the director athletics Mario Mokia, informed him of the decision this afternoon. This comes after learning of hazing allegations involving students, athletes on our men's basketball team. I've stated previously, hazing has no place in our campus, and those found responsible will be held accountable for their actions. I am committed to the safety and well-being of all members of our campus community, as well as to the integrity of our university. Through the through an expansive review of full investigation, we will work to ensure we fully understand what happened here and that those found responsible are held accountable. We will also ensure that support system are in place to prevent from this happening again." Man, this is, I hate these type of, storylines that, have to deal with these type of allegations that unfold and unravel towards, coaches. And you know what? Listen, I got no room for that on our program. There's no excuse. I know and I understand that there are coaches and staff members all the time that get pointed fingers at and accused, and even athletes get accused of X, Y, and Z, and some of them are true, some of them are not true. We learn to find out that even if they're not true, or, they're not guilty, doesn't mean that they're, just because they're ruled not guilty doesn't mean that they're, that it's not true. It hasn't happened. I don't know too much about New Mexico State. I don't know too much about Greg. I don't know too much about the university. I don't know too much about the men's basketball season. What I do know is, like I mentioned, the hazing allegations are unacceptable. And I can only worth mentioning this is because it's also worth mentioning that this is something that is a very serious matter. And I think this is, this is an action that was must taken. And this is, listen, I don't, I will never agree on seeing Greg getting another coaching job ever under any circumstances. Also, breaking coming out, I think what I heard yesterday, I thought this was interesting. We also had high school basketball brawl breaks out after players are accused of shouting racial slurs at opponents. This came out about 12 hours ago on CBS Sports. The article is up there. Players and fans got involved in a benches clearing brawl during a game in New Jersey. Benches cleared during a massive brawl that broke out at a high school basketball game in Inglewood, New Jersey, and players for one of the teams say racist language and slurs were being hurled at them before the phrases. Fans from Dwight Morrow High School and Dumont High School also came out of the stands and began fighting during the games. And I quote, fans jumped in. People from Dumont, they jumped in and then escalated from there. Dwight Morrow Sr. Karen Pitts told New York CBS 2. Pitts and his teammates told CBS 2 that some of Dumont's white players were yelling racial slurs at some of the black players from Dwight Morrow. The inward animals, monkeys, that type of stuff, Pitt added. Pitt's father, Keith Pitts, also confirmed that he heard the racial slurs prior to the brawl taking place. It's horrible, horrible. These times and days, still dealing with these for years now, Keith Pitts says. Following the brawl, the remainder of the game was canceled in the third quarter as a result. Dwight Morrow High School announced that the school has decided to cancel the remainder of the varsity and junior varsity basketball teams seasons due to the brawl. Some Dwight Morrow's players has also stated that they believe that Dumont High School should end its team season for their role. Quote, and I quote, spectators will not be permitted to attend the remaining winter events held at Dwight Morrow High School, end quote. Inglewood Public School Director, Superintendent Jennifer Cifuentes said in a letter that was sent to the parents. Spectators will be able to watch Dwight Morrow High School athletic events on YouTube for the remainder of the school year. So, I mean, this is one of the reasons I bring this up, because it's an unacceptable statement, and this could happen everywhere. And I think this is just a reminder for whoever you are, wherever you're at, doesn't matter what type of school, is that there is a standard, I think, in all athletes that they must pay to play the game. All right, you don't see, you rarely see professional athletes go to the extent of especially exercising their voice in racial slurs. They've canceled. I think it's so because of this brawl, Dwight Morrow's High School, all right, has canceled the varsity and junior varsity basketball team. I don't know if the justice should just stop there. I believe that there should be more action taken on these individual students that were involved in the communication of the racial slurs. I believe that they should not be allowed to play basketball ever again. Not even for, not in high school, not in college, not in community. I think that's crossing the line. There is a sense of, like I said, as a athlete at all ages, there is a standard and integrity that you must keep within the sport. And this is just these two incidents, the one with New Mexico State and the hazings. We see those. It's unfortunate to say, but we see those all the time, you guys. And I hate it. I hate seeing these stories left and right that allegations were made, or, regardless if they're true or not. But I also hate when things like this in high school, at the high school level, are being done, and it really affects and put a damper on the local sport. I'm also wondering, it was in New Jersey. I'm also wondering if we could see down the road something, a learning progress from this. Maybe something from Brooklyn Nets or something from the Knicks that can help um, kind of bring up and enlighten the situation, saying that, hey, this is not okay. And I don't live in New Jersey, so I don't know the circumstances of it. But man, pretty gnarly as we find out. All right, our number one's wrapping up. I want to finish off with this story, XFL, because NFL is not over with. As XFL returns for another for a year after 2 years hiatus. We got 8 teams, and here's what we need to know. In the XFL's 2023 premiere, schedule, players, coaches, rules, everything you need to know about rebooting the league on February 18th, which is actually coming up this weekend. Well, the 2022 NFL season is over. Fans don't need to worry about having a football withdrawal. No, not with 2 spring leagues playing games during the NFL's offseason, along with the USFL's second season, which begins in April. The reboot of XFL is back after 2 years hiatus. The XFL will kick things off this Saturday, February 18th, 6 days after the Super Bowl. All right, backstory initially started in 2001. This is the XFL that was collaborated in between NBC and WWF, spread headed by Vince McMahon. After a hard start, poor ratings ultimately led to the league's lasting just one season. 2020, the McMahon's, with McMahon's leading the reboot, but head to closed doors after COVID-19 shut down just 5 weeks into the season. The league's filed bankruptcy and was forced to sell. A group that included Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson then brought the league out from bankruptcy for $15 million, eyeing 2023 as its return for cost savings measures. Each XFL teams will train in Arlington, Texas, and only will travel on game days. Teams that are including that we need to know. There is a North Division and a South Division. There are 8 teams. DC Defenders are now the Reggie Barlow. Seattle Sea Giants, and the head coach is Reggie Barlow. Seattle Sea Dragons, head coach is Jim Haslett. St. Louis Battlehawks, Anthony Betch. Vegas Vipers are Rod Woodson. In the XFL South League Division, Arlington Renegades, Bob Stoop. Houston Roughnecks, Wade Phillips. Orlando Guardians, Terrell Buckley. And San Antonio Brahmas are Heinz Ward. If you're wondering what's changed between the 2020 XFL lineup to the 2023 version, it's only one team, the San Antonio Brahmas, with both a new host city and a new team name. 3 teams have the same nickname, but a new host city. The Vegas, formerly Tampa Vipers, the Arlington, formerly Dallas Renegades, and the Orlando's, formerly New York Guardians. The LA Wildcats are also no more. Notable players is Josh Gordon, Luis Perez, AJ McCarron, Kyle Slaughter, Matt Elam, Paxton Lynch, Matt Jones, Brad Wing. Couple of rule changes, just like USFL, the XFL has a few rules that distinguishes itself from NFL. Teams can only score 3 points after scoring a touchdown if they elect to place the ball at the 10-yard line following the touchdown. Unlike the NFL, the clock will start in the XFL following incomplete pass and out-of-bound plays prior to the 2-minute warning in either half. The clock will stop at first downs after the 2-minute warning in either half. There will be 10-minute half times. XFL has adopted the XFL's onside kick alternative, where a team can try to keep the ball after a score by attempting to convert a 4th and 15 from its own 25-yard line. Teams can complete a double forward pass as long as the first completion does not cross the original line of scrimmage. Also, overtime will consist of alternating attempts from the opponent's 5 yard line. Each team will get 3 attempts or until the winner is declared. You can watch all 43 games that will be broadcasted across ABC, ESPN, ESPN2. Each game will be also streamed on ESPN. First game coming up here this Saturday, February 18th. Vegas Vipers at Arlington Renegades at Coton Stadium at 3 p.m. Available on ABC and ESPN Plus. And then you had that game. Then you had the 8:30 game between the Orlando Guardians and the Houston Roughnecks. That will be available on ESPN and FX and ESPN Plus. Then Sunday's game, the St. Louis Battlehawks and San Antonio Brahmas at the Alamo Dome will be taking place at 3 p.m. on ABC. And later on in the afternoon, 8 p.m., the Seattle Sea Dragons taking on the DC Defenders at Audi Field, be available on ESPN, ESPN Plus. That is the XFL report for you guys. I know that was kind of long and everything, but well said and done. End of our number one here. Let's step aside. Let's take a break. Let's come back with some local news here. You guys are listening to the Throw-In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, 7:03 here on a Wednesday morning. Welcome back, you guys, for another hour here of the Throw-In with Justin. That is me. This hour, I want to give a big shout out to StreamYard Studio. Oh, not StreamYard Studio, excuse me. I want to give out StreamYard Studios a shout out, making all this possible. I want to give a shout out to Spreaker.com. Spreaker is a platform where you can upload your audio for podcasting. So every episode gets downloaded. I cut out the commercial breaks, upload it to Spreaker, and I can monetize my work and kind of get paid for it, with people listening to it. So I deeply encourage you, if you guys are not listening to us live, you guys aren't tuning us in on Facebook or Twitter, head on over to our audio platforms. The Throw-In is founded on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcast listening forms, we're on there. The Throw-In, check us out today. Take us on the road with you wherever you go. I'm a big person who listens to podcasts and listen to radio. I think I listen to more radio shows than more. Like I like right now at night, I listen at night going to bed right now. As of late, I've been listening to Coach John Quintero over there on 97.3 The Fan in San Diego, and they talk a lot Padres baseball, and they're getting all excited. It was a big monstrous day yesterday after signing Michael Wacha to the Padres back end of the rotation, and I listen. I love listening to the podcasters. And I love listening to, right now, I guess my take is I listen to certain podcasters, but, and I listen to different ones. I don't just stick to one. I listen to a couple of different ones because I get to listen and kind of learn about techniques and verbal language that they use to help their audience and help tell their story about their news. So I think it's cool. I listen to, Ben and Woods. I listen to the Busted Open podcast. I listen to Armchair Booking Wrestling podcast. I listen to Coach John Quintero. And so there's a handful of podcasts I listen to, or podcasters / radio. And what's so great is that, you for example, 97.3 The Fan from San Diego. I'm sure a lot of other places do this, but you could find them on places like iHeartRadio. You could find them on, Audacity. Find them on any audio platforms you could possibly find. So, I enjoy it. That's why I do it each and every morning. and then I could try to incorporate some great ideas and some techniques along in this program here. All right. We live in Cincinnati, in the northern Kentucky, Cincinnati range. I'll kind of give you a brief breakdown of what happened about the local sports taking place. No games went on yesterday, but today's a big day. We got a lot of games getting underway. So I'm going to continue around the local sports here, starting things off with the Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals get to Lou Enumo, apologize if I butchered that name again, returns to the Bengals as a defensive coordinator, did not get the head coaching job in Arizona. And listen, blessing in disguises. Lou's done a great job with this defensive team. And I think it's important, especially if the Bengals are looking to make a nice stretch and a nice run. You have someone who that knows Bengals football, that knows how to play call. I don't think that he's called many bad plays. Yes, it's up to the players to execute. So Lou's coming back, and I'm excited to see his return. Also coming up in some NFL important dates, especially regarding the Cincinnati Bengals. February 27th through the March 7th, clubs may designate franchise or transitional players. And then February 28th through March 6th, coming up here, the NFL Scouting Combine begins in Indianapolis, in Indianapolis. Cincinnati Cyclones will be in action tonight, taking on the Indy Fuel. Cincinnati Cyclones I believe, I'm sorry. Cincinnati Cyclones will have a game tonight against the Kalamazoo Wings, at 7:30 p.m. Cincinnati Cyclones are coming in second in the ECHL Central, 27-12-5, as the Wings are 18-24-3-6 in the ECHL Central. Tonight's $2 beer night. ECHL, which is AA hockey, in the Central standings so far, as we are now, well into the second half of the season. Indy Fuels lead the Central 31-15-2, as the Cyclones are in second, 27-12-5. Toledo Walleyes 27-15-4. So they're starting to narrow themselves down. Important games coming up moving forward. Cincinnati Bearcats men's basketball, who won 84-65 against South Florida back on Saturday, will be taking on East Carolina Pirates on the road today at 7 p.m. Cincinnati comes in 17-9 overall, 8-5 in the conference. They're 3-4 on the road, heading into East Carolina, who's 12-12 overall, 3-8 in conference, and 8-5 on the road. This is going to be a nice, tough matchup. Cincinnati leads the all-time series 19-2, including 12-2 mark in AAC play and 7 straight wins. The Bearcats are also 10-0 at home. Wes Miller on the road. Wes Miller is 4-0 against the Pirates in his 2 years. Only about 5 or 6 games left to be played. So that's if you're looking for a game tonight, Cincinnati Bearcats tip off at 7 p.m. Men's baseball for the Bearcats. They begin in 2 days. They will have a 4-game series on the road in Atlanta, Georgia, against the Georgia State Panthers. First game is on Friday at 3 p.m. We'll have a doubleheader on Saturday, one at 1, one at 4. And then they'll have a game on Sunday at high noon. Xavier Musketeers men's basketball. They ended up losing to Butler Bulldogs back on last Friday, 69-67. Xavier once trailed by 15 points before going into the half, 35-21. Xavier opened up the second half on a 9-0 run, 7 points from Kobe Jones. Kobe Jones finished off the game with 17 points after scoring 14 in the second half. Couldn't hold on. Their next game is tonight at 7 p.m. at Marquette Golden Eagles, who is 20-6, 12-3 in conference play. It's 2 high-ranking teams between Xavier and Marquette. So you want to really pay attention to this game. Musketeers are 11-3 in conference play. So it's going to be a really incredible key game. Xavier is 16th in this week's AP poll and 16th in USA Today's coaches poll. Xavier leads in four major offensive categories. First in the nation in assists per game at 20.6 average points per game. Third in the nation in overall field goal percentage at 500. And second in the nation's a 3-point field goal percentage at 401. And ninth in national in the nation in scoring offense at 83.2 points per game. Sully Bohm leads scorer is a lead scorer for the Musketeers with 16.1 points per game, tied for fifth in the Big East. Colby Jones tied with Sully Bohm for the team's lead for the double figure scoring games with 22. Men's baseball for the Musketeers, they will also have a 4-game series this weekend in Oregon to face the Oregon Ducks. The first game is at 7 p.m. on Friday. They'll have a doubleheader with the first pitch on Saturday at 3 p.m. and then on Sunday is also at 3 p.m. Kentucky Wildcats men's basketball entering in tonight's game against Mississippi State Bulldogs. Tip-offs at 8:30. Kentucky is 16-9, 7-5 overall on the road. They're 3-4. They lost back on Saturday against Georgia Bulldogs, 75-68. Things kind of just fell short. You didn't have C.J. Friedrich and Xavier Wheeler because of injuries. You also had Cason Wallace, who was fouled out early on. Antonio Rivas was a big lead and I expect to be a big part of tonight's game. He picked up 11 for 15 in the first 15 points. Kentucky jumped to the second half, but shortly fell to Georgia. They will tip off at 8:30 tonight against Mississippi State. Mississippi State 17-8, 5-7 in conference play at home. They are 10-3. Men's baseball for Kentucky Wildcats will be a 3-game weekend against Elon Phoenix on the road. First game on Friday at 4 p.m., Saturday at 2 p.m., and Sunday at 1 p.m. If you're looking for any sort of basketball this tonight, I would like to, I like the favors of East Carolina and Cincinnati, conference game here. And I think that, in my opinion, although, Cincinnati is not the greatest on the road, their conference shows 3-8 on the season so far. East Carolina, 8-5 at home, taking on the Bearcats, 3-4 at home. I'm just putting it out there. I would like to see the Bearcats overcome this. But the big game I'm thinking about talking about tonight that you should really be checking ourselves into is Xavier versus Marquette, the Golden Eagles taking on the Musketeers. Big conference, 11-3, 12-4, and when we're going to start looking into the tournament brackets and where each team fits, and this will really help. Winning a conference really helps execute the next levels and states. So that is your local sports around Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. Don't forget the Reds pitchers and catchers first workout of the spring training is taking place right today. You also want to give, yesterday I kind of mentioned the U.S. Team USA in the World Baseball Classic. I do want to give extended congratulations and wish them the best of luck for a couple of Reds players right now. Luis Cessa will be representing Mexico in the World Baseball Classic. Fernando Cruz and Alexis Diaz will represent Puerto Rico. And the World Classic will begin on March 8th. Luis Cessa, Fernando Cruz, Fernando Cruz and Alexis Diaz have already reported this spring to the training camps that took place starting on Monday for the World Baseball Classic. So, it's a fun time of year, as we get into baseball. All right. Coming into football, we still got football coming lurking for us. We got some quarterbacks of questions for 2023. I got a few statements that I want to make. I want to kind of really present to that. I also have the NFC North, quite a quick rundown of where each four teams, or the AFC North, each four teams really need to start paying and switching their focus to as we head into the off season. So don't go nowhere. We'll take you guys up until 8 a.m. this morning. You guys are listening to the Throw In here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel.
Oh, I can't let him take my soul. I can't let him take my soul. No. Oh, I can't let him take my soul.
721 here on the Throw In here. Thank you guys for tuning in. Take you guys up until 8 o'clock. I want to give a big shout out to Epidemic Sound, which provides us royalty-free music for this program. We would like to give them a shout out. Discover your world-class artists, composers, and bands. Find the perfect soundtrack and give your social media accounts the music they deserve. Epidemic Sound is a royalty-free music link. For more information, check out epidemicsound.com.
Writing out my wrongs, ran through a check cause it's hard to live off bread alone. So if you see me slipping, let me know, cause it ain't the end of times yet. I know, but it's getting close. Yeah, I need my space to breathe, that's why I be going ghost. I ain't trying to stay up on that wide road, cause I can't let them take my soul. No. Oh, I can't let them take my soul. No.
Alrighty. Trying to get our heads right back here to finish off the show pretty strongly. This one here from Epidemic Sound is My Soul, clean version by Norman Song. So really enjoy Epidemic Sound. Hopefully, if you guys are making content videos, you guys are enjoying them as well. All right, I want to kind of give you a brief rundown here. Off season is among us. The Bengals making it to the AFC. The Bengals, made it to the AFC Championship, fell short. There were some scary moments, but this division has really grown, and they have some concerning factors heading into the offseason. So here's some big questions, because listen, this is a competitive division. I think that moving forward, if there's some tweaks, this is gonna be a fun division to watch. Last season, we thought, and I thought, that Kansas City and the AFC West, with Justin Herbert and the Chargers, with Derek Carr and the Raiders, and with Russell Wilson and the Broncos, you have something that you could put together that was a division to talk about. And, this is besides the AFC just being one of the better divisions last season. But the NFC North, with some now minor tweaks, because we don't, listen, Kenny Pickett's going to be out of his first year. He's going to be a sophomore next year in the NFL. You have Cleveland Browns, who get Deshaun Watson, which we'll talk about here in a moment. And then the whole configuration about Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. So let's kick things off with the Ravens, right? NFC North here, okay? The Ravens need to figure out their status with Lamar flat down the middle. You have a quarterback who wants to stay in Baltimore. All he's asking is to get paid. Then you got the Ravens, the franchise, who is wanting to make Lamar Jackson the long franchise face of the franchise. Pay the man. We talked about this last year. I was surprised that Lamar Jackson played. And then you had the little, controversy leading into the end of the season, which ended up leading to the failure and to the Ravens losing the wild card weekend. Lamar Jackson goes out there and says, listen, I'm not going to rush getting back to health. I'm going to stay here. And listen, you could take it for what it's worth. Lamar Jackson, if he was getting paid and if he was making the money and he was getting the contract deal that he wanted to get, wouldn't be no issues. He would have been there heading into, the wild card game and playing, regardless of how well he is. In the playoffs, it's interesting because the playoffs has a interesting take for you. When you are injured or not injured, you're going to play until you or cannot play no more. I wonder why Lamar Jackson's willing to sit, and wait for the Baltimore Ravens. I do wonder, if you didn't get it done last year, why are you getting it? Why is it changing? And it's like, why is Baltimore waiting so long? And at what moment and what point is it going to take to say, Lamar Jackson, all right, I'm done. I'm not going to do this no more. There's no point if you're going to get the deal done, get the deal done, because I think that's the only part of the Ravens. I don't think you can move on to the next thing without figuring out Lamar Jackson's deal. Figure out if he's the face of the franchise. If so, let's go move on. Baltimore was once at the top of the AFC North, and they've proven that they're coming down. Can they get back on top of the level where they're at? Or are their days numbered? I think that their days are numbered. Cincinnati's proven back-to-back years. And although, Ravens are a great team, they linger around everyone. We have to, think, with their problems, they're only going to be, how much can they get better each and every year? Cincinnati Bengals, the Bengals had a identical season compared to the year before, where they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams. The difference is that the Bengals addressed the major concerns. Last season, the major concerns were the offensive line. They've added a few key stars to the defensive players, which they've been notorious the last few years about, but was with the offensive line. What are the concerns this year? Okay. Are the concerns this year the similar way, but they're also different? Yes, we have great offensive linemen, and we could always use more. And I think once again that this year the Bengals should go out and try to draft another offensive lineman that you can develop, if not maybe a wide receiver. But last year we didn't have enough offensive linemen. Now we do. But the concern problem is that it's their health. It's the health that got to them at the beginning of the season, and it was the health that got to them at the end of the season. With wall-to-wall injuries, they need to fix the offensive line, whether they can also establish the run game. I was looking over some of the numbers. Joe Mixon didn't even run over 1,000 yards in last season. All right. They also need to focus on having a complete season with minimum issues. I think one of the big things that got to the Bengals, you don't want to, with how good the Bengals are, you guys, I don't want to sit on the Bengals moving forward, you guys. I don't want to sit on the Bengals saying, hey, listen, you start the season off 0-2, you start the season off 2-4, you start the season off 4-4. That's not a good start. For how good we know the Bengals are, okay, they can't go play this Jeopardy where you have to win out. They were also on the verge of winning 10, 11 games going into Kansas City. At some point, you do fall behind. You need to get out to an early lead in the first 10 weeks and 12 weeks of the season, because you need to allow yourself to make mistakes in the back half. Why do you think Kansas City year in and year out are so successful? It's because they get themselves, they don't get too far behind. They catch up and they allow themselves to make the mistakes at the end of the season so that they could correct them, so that when they get to the postseason, they are in good hands. That's the thing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Let's minimize the mistakes and the issues and the concerns and the injuries in the first part of the season. Let's get out to this big league so you're not having to run into the controversy that we did this past season, where you ran down, where you had to win in order to win. You won the division, but then you may not have a home field advantage, and then you're stuck. The Cleveland Browns last year dealt with their absence of Deshaun Watson majority of the season, who served with suspension. Now, with that out of the way, we can finally see if, set eyes on completing a full year with with their new work. This year I think is going to be the year where Cleveland's going to learn if they made the right choice or not. They had the choice to stick with Baker Mayfield. They also had the choice to go with Deshaun Watson. They took option B. They went down with Deshaun Watson. He served his time. Now this year, is the year where you're going to see if you made the right decisions, and that's going to be the question for Cleveland. All right, is Deshaun Watson the right decision moving forward, especially in a division with Joe Burrow? You still got Lamar Jackson, at least as of right now. And then also moving forward, we're going to see the sophomore year of Kenny Pickett, you guys, which I think is amazing. All right. We saw the face of the franchise arrive this past season with Kenny Pickett. It still isn't a smooth transition, obviously, but somehow the Steelers were able to finish the season above 500. Sophomore years is what gets the quarterbacks and what's really looks at the most. We talked about this with Justin Fields. We talked about this with Trevor Lawrence. First year, under the water, out the door. This year is the year for Kenny Pickett to see if he's going to be a starting quarterback. And I think it's going to be an important year for Pittsburgh because you have to figure out if Pick is the guy, then Pick is the guy. If he's not, then he's not. I think he's going to be the guy. He kept the team to about 500. The other question that's coming out of here, all right, because this is a fighting division, all right, Mike Tomlin, he hasn't had a losing season yet. I don't know if you want to sit there and maybe risk the factors and change hands. Pittsburgh's notorious not to have many head coaches. Mike Tomlin's been been coaching for the Steelers for a long, 15 plus years now. He's going, does Pittsburgh continue with Mike Tomlin until the time, until Father Time runs out? And I think, for me, this offseason, you address, all right, you say, hey, Pickett, you have full range. Tomlin, go coach, and let's get some players to support you, whether that's offensive line, defense, wide receivers. And this is where my argument lies. This is going to be a exciting offseason in the AFC North because you have four spots here, all right, between the Ravens, the Bengals, the Browns, and the Steelers trying to unfold. And now, everyone has their own little problems, right? The problems that could be answered, but how are they going to answer them? I think coming into 2023 and this upcoming season, no matter what the moves are made now, I think maybe if Lamar Jackson doesn't stay with Baltimore, we have an issue. If the Bengals don't add a couple more players, we're going to have an issue. If, I think Cleveland's set and I think Pittsburgh's set. So with that being said, I think the AFC North is going to be up for a really big, exciting division this year. We saw a little bit out of the AFC East. All right. We saw a little bit out of the AFC West, but no one compares to the AFC North coming into 2023, in my belief. All right. Also, we kind of want to take a look at the quarterback issues that we have, and I think this is notable. I don't know if I'm going to get to every single one of them. I want to share a couple of them. In my opinion, we could continue this tomorrow. But I think, this year, exciting, Derek Carr was officially released from the Las Vegas Raiders yesterday, which means two things. And we talked about this yesterday, which means, one, the Raiders are in search for a quarterback. Talk about Aaron Rodgers as a potential landing spot. And, right now, because Tom Brady's retired, Aaron Rodgers is at the top of the totem pole here for quarterbacks and as free agents. But I mentioned to you that for Aaron Rodgers, I don't know, we'll address that story. But the other story now is Derek Carr can go to whatever team he could go to. And he's played this he's really openly, admittedly playing this to his perfection. Now, we're going to see if this works or if this fails. But Derek Carr is now on the free agent market. He rejected every trade offer that was presented to him on Monday. Basically tied the hands of Las Vegas made the Raiders, release him. Now he's a free agent. And what team does he go to? All right. You could go to the Jets. You go to Washington. You go to Tampa Bay. He could go to New Orleans. I heard that Derek Carr did talk with the Saints, but I don't know what that led to, if that led to anything. We're going to see this year. Derek Carr is going to find a team because he's a good quarterback. He's going to find a team that needs a quarterback. And he's kind of, I would put him up there probably as like the third or second highest quarterback on the free agent market. But, I don't want him to get lost in the mix, such as how Jimmy Garoppolo got lost last season. So, he declared free agency. What's the next step? Next step is, all right, go out there and find a team. But I will tell you this now, is that he's going to have to work hard. And he's going to have to prove everyone wrong. He's going to have to go with, if he signs with Washington, basically whatever team he goes with, he's going to have to make the push to push that team to the playoffs. I'm going to hold on that list here of quarterbacks and the questions for 2023 as teams, as we get into the offseason. I will bring that back up. I also want to talk about the rankings a little bit. But when I come back to kind of close off the show, and this is where I kind of want to give a little bit of everything to you guys. I want to share a little bit of baseball, a little bit of football, a little bit of basketball. I want to also talk to you about some Major League Baseball, because one thing was presented, the most pressing question for each team. And I was taking a look at this list, and I want to share it with you guys coming up here next. So don't go nowhere. We'll take a time out. We'll come back, we'll talk about this list, and wrap up our show. You guys are listening to The Throw-In right here on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. All right, 7:41. I want to go ahead and give a big shout out to our good friends over there at Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. You guys, Steve Barber, Dwaylen Davis, just going at it again, having an interview with Jack Stinger, a soldier and a wrestler all in one. Latest podcast that was just published about 8 hours ago. And you guys can find them on the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast YouTube channel and all audio streaming platforms. Check out Steve Barber and Dwaylen Davis as they break down news and highlights in professional wrestling. The Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast is a weekly wrestling podcast founded on YouTube and all audio streaming platforms. Go check out and follow Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast today. I say head over there. Head on over there, you guys. Go follow them out. Man. Still have that croaked, voice here. Excuse me. So I kind of came up with a list that I kind of ran into, actually. Have it here. Go type it all in again. So just kind of, I guess, settling up as well. So the most, like I said, I want to give you a little bit of wrestling, a little bit of news, a little bit of local sports, a little bit of football and a little bit of baseball, especially since spring training is here. Pitchers and catchers are working out today. And that leads into some questions of all 30 teams. And, I kind of looked at this list because when you look at this list, you want to compare yourself to how maybe the Reds are configuring compared to everyone else. A couple of weeks ago, we read an article how the Colorado Rockies ownership kind of got upset that the Padres are spending top dollar on a lot of these players and stealing players from the rest of the organization. And I kind of just chuckled at that and I laughed and I said, listen, this is baseball. Just like the Dodgers, just like the Yankees, you don't get mad at them when they go spend all the money and they go over the luxury tax threshold. Why get mad at the Padres? The Padres are making a run. And, you have the Dodgers this year. I think this year is going to be unique because you have, there's questions out of every ball club. And as I was reading these questions, you look how, for the last decade, you see how well the Dodgers have been. So how do they have questions? The Yankees, the Red Sox, the Braves, the Astros, who just won the World Series last year. And then it's like the Padres, they're doing everything right, including adding Michael Walker. So I kind of want to share you this list to wrap up our show this morning about the most pressing questions in each team. And I want you to, as you listen to these questions, I really want you guys to kind of think and ponder and just look over comparing them to the Cincinnati Reds. So I'm going to share with you the Cincinnati Reds number one question. All right, since coming from Cincinnati Reds, how will the young potential aces fare? Okay, and I think that's a given. You have a group of young guys, sophomore guys. You think of Nick Lodolu, Hunter Green, Graham Ashcraft, younger guys. Don't forget the bullpen and the rotation, and then you get TJ Friedel, Jake Fraley, Spencer Steer, all they're very young, talented guys, and they're coming up. But how are they going to fare against everyone else? Because while we sit and we have to accept that these younger guys are coming up and they're going to be the face and the core of the success that the Reds are going to have this year, we see dealings and wheelings in Chicago and in St. Louis and in Milwaukee, and we already know that St. Louis, no matter if you have Yadier Molina or Albert Pujols, they're going to be a dangerous ball club. We already know that Chicago could be in and out anytime, each and every time. And then we also know that Milwaukee's always in the mix. And what that means is that before the season even starts, we're playing, they're playing up here, we're playing down here. So we have to already catch up. So just think about that. You have a young group of guys. How will the young potential aces fare in 2023? We're going to start things off against the Arizona Diamondbacks in the National League West. Arizona Diamondbacks question is, did they make enough bullpen improvements? So Arizona's problem is the key question coming out of Arizona is how well do they improve on their bullpen? For the Colorado Rockies, can Chris Bryant hit a home run in Coors Field? That was a struggle last year. Everyone was nodding on Chris Bryant, and somehow he landed in Colorado. Don't ask me why, but now you got, hey, he needs to show up. You think about this, right? Think about the number one question that every team has to face. For the Rockies, can Chris Bryant hit a home run this year in Coors Field? For the Dodgers, which is a big one, will the lineup be too top heavy? They just got done unloading a whole bunch of players. They're obviously bringing some guys in from the farm system to work with and to kind of even out the playing field. But are they too top heavy? For the San Diego Padres, are they ready? They just added Michael Walker yesterday to kind of help seal that back into the rotation. Are they ready? It's all or nothing. It's do or die because there's no guarantee, there's no promises for next season. They've made the deals today. Yeah, they signed Yu Darvish for a long-term extension, but Machado's on the block. We don't know. Juan Soto, we don't know about. There's players that Bogarts we don't know about. Are they ready? And then for the San Francisco Giants, how much production can the new outfielders provide? So just think of those questions. Those are questions that the number one question for each team in the NL West. Over there in the American League, though, Houston Astros, is Michael Brantley healthy? For the Angels, how healthy is Anthony Rendon? For the Oakland Athletics, which young stars get rotation spots? For the Seattle Mariners, can Jared Kelenic figure it out? And for the Texas Rangers, who wins the left field job? So your key questions are coming out as individual players. And then you have position spots. I like the Athletics, which young starters get the rotation, knowing that they're a selling team. But you look at these first two questions that you have, and when you identify a question as a person, can this person do this? Can this person do that? As your most important question, then it's like they have a decent ball club together. When you're asking, if you're like the Athletics, and you're asking for the starters to get the rotation of the Giants, when you're asking for the outfielders provide, okay, so you have a starting rotation job. I think when you chose the Reds, the question, most valuable question, I think that was a difficult choice because you have a lot to answer. Most pressing question for each team. Over there in the East, National League, Atlanta Braves, how will Grissom fare as an everyday shortstop? You jump down to the Miami Marlins. Can they score enough runs? Which I think that's a huge question. If you could have the greatest defense, the greatest pitching staff, the greatest rotation, but if you can't score runs, that's the problem. New York Mets, can the rotation limit injuries? That's a good question, I think, to ask. Got Justin Verlander, a part of them, Max Scherzer. You want to limit injuries because last year you came up into the Mets had they were leading the division for majority of the year up until the Braves came back in September and knocked them out, came down to the final games of the season. And then the Mets got knocked out by the Padres. You also got Philadelphia. Can they survive with Harper's injuries? I think that's a solid question to ask. Maybe that's the only question they asked. They also picked up Trey Turner. And then also you would have the Washington Nationals. Which players will build up for a good trade value at the deadline? And I think that's the only question about, selling out in this sense, that Washington's the only question that you build players up to get rid of them, even though we've seen Pittsburgh and Miami and Cincinnati do it. In the American League East, Baltimore says, has Kyle Gibson mastered his new slider? Boston Red Sox, how does Chris Sale look? You also have the New York Yankees, who will win shortstop job? For the Tampa Bay Rays, is Brandon Lowe healthy? And for the Toronto Blue Jays, how healthy is Brandon Belt? And the one thing I'll take away with this is like the East, AL East, they're in a comfortable position. They're in an exciting position. So in the American League Central, we look at the Chicago White Sox. Does Lucas Giolito look like his old self? The Cleveland Guardians ask, will they give out any extensions? It's a good question. Detroit Tigers, has Spencer Torkelson made any adjustments? For Kansas City and the Royals, is it time to lighten Salvador Perez's workload? And for the Minnesota Twins, how's Carlos Correa's ankle? And then we get down to the National League Central with the Reds. And the Cubs begin. Can they generate enough offense? Cincinnati Reds, how will their young potential aces fare? The Pittsburgh Pirates, how long does Reynolds has? St. Louis Cardinals, how will the rotation hold up? And Milwaukee Brewers, and I'm sorry I bypassed that one. Is there still a chance for prime Chris Yelich to return? So those are a key list of questions for each and every ball club. And I think that when you look at this list and you compare it to what the Cincinnati Reds has, then you kind of almost feel certain. But what we find is that the Reds are in a position, where there's a lot of ball clubs only asking about individual personnels. And that, for me, is a sign that, hey, that there are teams that are confident and are satisfied with where they're at. But it comes down to the honest question of, we have a young group of guys. We know we're not ready for October baseball. But see, out of those 30 questions, the only questions that we should really be focusing on are the four other teams in the Central. And when you look at some of these other questions, you look at the Pittsburgh Pirates, how long does Reynolds will last? My thing is that Brian Reynolds is going to be eventually on the trade market. Now, I would love, and this is just me, with Jonathan India as an up-and-coming rising star, Brian Reynolds, I think, makes a vast improvement for the Reds' future in the outfield. And I would love to see Brian Reynolds jump over to a Cincinnati Reds uniform. But I think what I want the most is that what we saw this offseason is that I don't want any Central players from the NL Central to jump across teams and play for the division. We see that in St. Louis when you have Wilson Contreras, a great catcher coming from Chicago, who is going to from Chicago to St. Louis. Why are we jumping into that? Chicago, the biggest concerns, fears that I have is that, St. Louis, as I mentioned, is going to be St. Louis. They're a dangerous team. They're always going to be better. But then you have the Chicago Cubs, who have went out and they've signed players, Eric Hosmer and, Cody Bellinger. And now you wonder, are they a dangerous team this year? And I definitely feel that 3 of the 4 teams right now in the Central are better than the Cincinnati Reds. Milwaukee has, they didn't, I don't know if they really made a huge amount of adjustments, but they really addressed, and they really, they still are a dangerous team. They show it time and time again. So this Central is already going to be a wild Central to begin the season. And, you're going to have to be at top of the game. And it gets me worried. It gets me nervous. We have AEW Dynamite tonight. I'm excited. There we go. We have AEW Dynamite tonight. A handful of matches set to take place. Coming up on the screen here, we will see a 6-man tag team match for the AEW World's Trios Championship. The champions, the Elite, will take on Top Flight and AR Fox. We also have the AEW World Tag Team Championship, the Acclaimed taking on the Guns. The Jamie Hayter will take on the Bunny in AEW's World Championship Elimination match, while MJF will take on Konosuke Takeshita, for AEW's World Championship elimination match. You also got Rush taking on Bryan Danielson, and Garcia there's a Garcia and Guevara gauntlet scenario. So the match card is already pretty heavy, pretty set, and pretty determined for the for tonight's action on AEW Dynamite, which is available on TBS at 8 p.m. Hold on 1 second. Just trying to get kind of my lined up for the end of the program here. But yeah, listen, a very, very busy program. I didn't get to everything that I wanted to get to, but that's okay. It happens. And there's always tomorrow. I think the important thing is that we did get through a lot. I do want to continue tomorrow to talk some more WWE questions that I have. We'll talk more about some NFL news. Before we leave, I want to kind of three NFL news real quick. Arizona Cardinals picked up named head coach Jonathan Gannon, former Philadelphia's defensive coordinator, will now be heading over to Arizona. Head Shane Striction, congratulations to him, Philadelphia's offensive coordinator, who is now the new head coach for the Indianapolis Colts. And then here's the last one here. Baltimore, we talk about Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson deal. Well, the Ravens are using Lamar Jackson's input for offensive coordinator search before hiring Todd Monken earlier. So the question still remains. So we're going to talk a little bit more heavy on the quarterback questions. Excuse me. But tomorrow we'll talk a little bit more on the quarterback questions as I think there's a lot of questions that can be said. And, we'll talk some more sports, get you a highlight of the local updates, get you guys ready for this weekend. The Genesis golf tournament that will be featuring Tiger Woods. So that's all the time we have here. My name is Justin. You guys are listening to the throw-in, available on the TNC Sports Talk YouTube channel. Thank you guys for tuning in and watching us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Be sure to take us on the road, download us, and don't miss a single segment by downloading us on all audio streaming platforms. Until tomorrow, you guys take care. Have a great day. Enjoy your Wednesday. We'll be back Thursday.